What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the In the Dome podcast. 73 games left. Sorry,
Oh,
70 games left.
Still, that's a lot of games.
It's a lot of games, man.
It's a lot of potentially boring hockey to watch, eh?
You were at the Jersey game. I was at the Coilers game. Pretty boring, to be honest.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I don't know. I've been down. I don't know.
You're down the dumps?
I skew negative generally in life. I don't know. I'm having a hard time the last few games getting up for games.
Yeah, even you're sitting in the dome. You're like, there's no juice to that game.
Zero juice.
Battle of Alberta. You would like to see at least one fucking fight.
Yeah.
At least you got to see Lombo feed that guy's lunch. Eh?
That was sick. The two highlights of that game were Tilly Backlund being cute and Lombo breaking Bastian's face open. That was awesome. But other than that, ugh. I don't think he was bleeding too much. I don't know. I guess he messed his jaw up. That was sick though. That was crazy.
I don't know how you would mess your jaw.
He just feeds
8 straight lefts to the jaw. It was funny because after that, I was gonna post something on Twitter, being like, "Oh, 6 straight lefts to the jaw," and usually I over exaggerate things, so I'm like, maybe it was 4. Then I went back and looked. It's fucking 8.
It's
8 straight left hooks directly to the jaw. What's that guy doing?
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was doing. Like, he dropped his gloves like he was ready to fight, and then he just kind of didn't do anything. I guess he kind of got pinned up against the boards, which was sick.
Well, he was trying to turn. He was just he wasn't fighting back. He's just like, if I just take this long enough, the linesmen
take your beating, you little bitch. Take your beating, bitch boy Bastian. That was sick though. But other than that, the game was and then they won.
Hey, it was an exciting final 5 minutes.
It was so boring though. I don't know.
Same
with the Oilers game, I'm sure.
Battle of Alberta. We drove in. We stayed downtown. You could see all the Oilers fans trickling into the game. To be expected, or anything that was going to happen. They got a much better team. They got an exciting team. That's where they are in their timeline. Dude, 20 seconds into the fucking game?
20, wasn't it even quicker? It's
pretty quick. Seconds?
Pretty quick.
You go down 1-0, you're just like, fuck. And then, I don't know, at least they made a game of it, tied it up.
Yeah, they stayed in it a bit.
They tied up for 5 minutes. I mean, hey, this is what we've been saying is entertaining. Keep the games at least semi-entertaining till the finish while losing. That's the recipe.
Yeah, it's a perfect tank game, but make it a little more exciting than the New Jersey game. I don't know. I was in a pouty pants mood for some reason that night, being at the game. Traffic was shitty. I don't know. I was down there. We were like, I was being a little bitch, but it's just such a boring game. And I don't know. Huska was bugging me with some of the things he was doing, and
dude,
I don't know. I'm just I'm being real with you. I'm having a hard time getting even tonight. I'm like Habs. I'm like,
Cole
Caulfield, Lane Hudson. I'm looking forward to watching their players more than our players, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it is just a lot of vets. Honestly, if Wolf isn't playing, and I think I said this in this season preview, I was like, if Wolf's not playing, I don't really have a ton of interest in the game, which is shitty to say, but it's kind of true.
Unless Coronato's on PP1, which I think he got some PP1 time against the Oilers. Did he not?
Yeah, he did. I'd like to see him up there more.
It was just one part. Well, it was 2 power plays or 1.
I think he was definitely on for 1.
The Flames there wasn't a lot of penalties called in this game.
Unless you're Martin Pospisil, in which case you lost the game for your team, apparently.
That's the storyline of the game.
It's his fault.
You got to demote that hardest working guy. You got to go against what you're saying. You got to go against the message.
Bro, it's not okay, bro.
We'll talk about we'll focus a little bit on Huska and some of his desperation moves 12 games into the season. But does this not just scream desperation? Like your lines are in a blender. You're well, this was how we ended the last episode. Was the real storyline for this last past week was how was the team going to respond to losing two straight, Carolina, and who was their loss to?
Did we cover the Vegas game? Not yet, eh?
Not yet.
Winnipeg.
They lose. Yeah, Carolina, Winnipeg. You lose 2 straight. You get blown out by Winnipeg. Oh no, you didn't get blown out by Winnipeg.
Well, you kind of got run over 4 straight games essentially.
The Winnipeg, they kept it interesting, but they get blown out in Vegas. They get blown out in Utah. So that's your response to losing 2 straight. You lose another 3 or 4 games. You're 1-5 in your last 6. Come back down to earth. The coach is scrambling, just doing everything he can. I don't know. We talked a lot about identity coming into this season in the first couple weeks, and after we even talked about this after the hot start. We asked the question, how do you continue doing this? And we are leaning more towards enough with pushing the mental side of the things, just stick to X's and O's. And I think that's where we're starting to see some of the game falling apart is, Huska, you do not have that talented of a group. Like, you're only going to see results by keeping things simple. This team just has to simplify the game right down to, just basic fundamentals. And if they can execute basic fundamentals with the work ethic, that's our ceiling. That's it. I don't think that pushes this team into the playoffs. They'll be probably on the lower end of the bubble. But dude, enough with the fucking enough with the mind games. Just let the fucking. He's putting too much pressure on these guys.
Yeah, totally.
Coming into the season, we were like, oh fuck, no pressure. They're the underdogs. No one expects shit out of them, and they utilized that for the first 2 weeks of the season. And now I just feel like the coach is grasping at something that isn't even really there in terms of what you actually have on this roster. It's not a good enough roster to make the playoffs, is it?
No.
So I don't know.
Well,
what are your thoughts on Huska's approach right now? It just seems like he's just hell bent on pushing these guys to the max when it's just like, dude, you have what you have. You don't have, we're already fucking juicing the orange to the fullest. Just let the guys play, focus on the fundamentals.
Yeah, and is the juice worth the squeeze at this point early in the season? I think that was the first kind of like alarm bells was like he's changing. Best start in franchise history, and he starts like tinkering with the lines and like, nah, I'm gonna move this guy here, and this guy's getting benched, and it's just like, dude, like hands off a little bit.
Yeah.
I
agree. Right now, like we said, the storyline of the Oilers game was Pospisil with the late penalty. You've been talking about this on Instagram, so I'll let you take it. But I know you bring Sam Bennett into the conversation when you're discussing the point of you want to be the hardest working team in the league. Pospisil is your hardest working player on a nightly basis. Now he's getting demoted. I still feel like I feel like he got injured on that one play a couple weeks back.
He hasn't been the same. And when did he fought too in that game? Didn't he?
Which game?
He had a fight. Where did he fight? He fought somebody early on in the season, and he kind of hasn't really been the same since that sequence.
Yeah. But I just think if you're Husky, you're kind of grasping at straws right now.
It's kind of like this rotation of like guys who are getting benched. It's kind of like, whoa, somebody's getting benched every game. Somebody's playing on the fourth line every game. It really does seem to be like grasping at straws, right? And you've kind of, I think, fumbled the hot start a little bit here. Similar thing happened when Daryl overcorrected in that 22-23 year where they had a really good start. And then he started poking around too much. He's like changing the lines and riding guys too hard. It's like you had a little bit of a good thing going there, and you've kind of like maybe poked a little too much here.
I agree. I feel like with that hot start, stop trying to do more. He's just trying to do more.
Yeah.
Every week, every game, every period, he's trying to do more. You should be trying to do less.
Well, and the Pospisil thing, there's a good example, right? It's like, hey, you're playing center. You're starting the season with an expectation. You're playing between Huberdeau and Mantha, like the two of the highest skilled players on the team. You're having a big responsibility.
Huberdeau?
In theory, anyways.
The least one of the least skilled guys on the team.
Dude, every time I go to a game,
you can't do anything.
But you texted me in Jersey, like, wow, watching Huberdeau live is something else. And
just a really special experience.
You know, to put it into perspective, like, yes, watching him alive is painful. And the guy does not push offense. He doesn't create anything, doesn't generate anything. He doesn't bring the puck down the ice. He doesn't. Remember when we had Gaudreau? The guy, his zone entries, he'd get over the blue line, cut to the middle. Every time he's creating something. Huberdeau creates dick all. Sweet dick.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like,
I know he scored a nice goal, but man, it's just like every time it's hard for. I think that's maybe part of the reason why I'm such in a grumpy mood, because I went to the game and it was so boring, and I was just like, man, we used to be good, and I want to see some young skilled players play. That's all. And
well, when the writing's on the wall, like, why don't you just run with it? Why are we fighting against it?
Yeah. Anyways, my point being was that Pospisil started the season there with a clear expectation and a clear role. We're going to try you at center. And he played great, and that line played great, and it looked like Huberdeau for the first time. I mean, he kind of does this every year. There's some spurts of games where it's like, wow, he's like, actually, is he back? He's back. He's back. Oh, fuck, he's not back. But he actually looked pretty good, and there was some chemistry there, and he was playing with Pospisil plays in those straight lines. He plays with pace. He drives the pace. He's big. He's good on the forecheck. It looked like that was working, and then they just suddenly break that up and kind of move Pospisil around and move him to the wing and move some other guys around and try some things that have already kind of been proven not to work, like Sharangovich playing at center. I don't really get. So the Pospisil thing in particular, and now it's like Pospisil is struggling a bit, and everybody's like, whoa, like this guy, like, oh man, like he's not the player he was last year. Well, I think he's kind of been jerked around. Like he was in a position where he was playing well in a well-defined role, and you've kind of just like jerked him out of that. Put him here, put him there. Now you're getting into like the post-game comments, like, oh, that's not okay. We're going to coach his penalty trouble out of him. It's like, geez, like.
Well, like you said, hyper-focus is
on low-frequency weaknesses. Like, so he took a couple penalties. Who gives a shit? Well, he proved he can play at center ice, right? On a team that's lacking centers, a guy who is a fourth-round draft pick who you've never really expected a ton from, I think showed through the first 5-6 games he can play center in the NHL. That's if you have that ability and you can nurture that skill, that's a pretty big thing to have right there. And they're kind of like focusing, he takes too many penalties. Who cares? I don't care. He can play center and he can drive a line with two skilled players. I think that's maybe something you should be focused on more than the fact he takes some penalties sometimes.
Well, and the reason why you're of that mindset is we keep bringing this up is keep clear on your vision.
Yeah.
Like, we're not trying to make the fucking playoffs this year.
Well, exactly. Like the juice being worth the squeeze. He is, right? So you're going to sacrifice maybe developing Pospisil into a player who could help you down the middle in 2-3 years for like short-term gains.
And that's why I'm just like, do less.
Yeah.
Like, give these, what is this? You get 3 periods to prove something. Like,
yeah,
it's not realistic. Give these guys way longer. These guys shouldn't even have these guys. You know, those, I don't know if they still make these. You know, remember those ripcord leashes, right? Where you can put a lock
for kids and stuff.
No, for dogs, right?
Okay. I think parents use them for kids now.
it goes out to what, 15, 20 feet or whatever.
Yeah.
You can lock it wherever you want.
Yeah.
But if you're walking the dog and he bolts off, it's just like, like give 30 games, man. Why would you change what brought you success early on in the season? Why would you change it when you're having success?
Yeah, and that goes into this kind of like shit house to penthouse mentality too, where it's guys
There
going
has to
from
be a whipping
first
boy. I don't
line.
know.
Exactly. It has to be somebody's fault, which I just don't really understand, right?
Is that just and this is
Is that
one
a
of those things
tactic?
where
I
it's
don't
like
know.
this is I think what separates elite, like your average cup of coffee coaches in the NHL from the elite guys that have super long tenures and see successes. Just let the players coach themselves. Essentially, you give them a framework and then let them take the lead.
Yeah.
Let them run with it.
Exactly.
Like,
And
enough with the interference.
yeah, you stop poking, stop poking into everything, and stop changing the goddamn lines every game and switching people's roles every game. And again, that's something a coach is really good at too, is finding a role for a player where they can succeed in that role. And I think that's where you've seen some of the struggles of some of the guys this season is that they've either been playing under their head or over their head.
Yeah.
It's like for Pospisil, you go from like, okay, you have this huge expectation to center possibly the top offensive line to like, okay, like today he's playing on the fourth line. I don't necessarily disagree with him playing on the fourth line, but I'm just saying like you've seen that across the board. It's like first line, fourth line, on the bench, up, down, here, there. If you're a guy like Coronado, you're up, you're down, you're in the minors, you're on the top line, you're playing on the checking line with Backlund and Coleman, eating all these tough starts. Then you're back down to the fourth line. It's just like all these guys being like, I don't know how anyone's going to be able to settle into a role or, and like you're saying, the point of the season is development. It's not 2 points on the line every night, even though if you're a coach, that's what you're thinking, but you have to manage that given where the Flames are at.
The whipping boy mentality is interesting to me because is that, and I get it. If you're a head coach, like what's the shelf life on head coaches on average?
Couple years, 3 years, maybe.
So, that's your livelihood. If you're Huska, this is you finally get a head coaching gig. So your job's on the line, but is management really pushing Huska to make the playoffs this season? Like he's operating on a nightly basis. Like we need to win every single game this year. And so it kind of, again, when we come on this thing, right? A big focal point for us is what is the visions 3 years from now. So why is the head coach going against that on a nightly basis? Do you really need to demote Pospisil right now? When you come into the season and you explain to the entire organization, your goal is to be the hardest working team in the league. It's not to make the playoffs. Did you hear once?
Well, I heard it from Don Maloney said Stanley Cup
this season.
Oh yeah, ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup.
But that's where the message gets jumbled.
Yeah,
and when the message gets jumbled and there's no clarity, and now your coach looks like he's in desperation mode, of period to period. It's hard. It's hard mentally on these players. And coming back to the point, like if you're managing this organization right now, this roster, and a guy like Martin Pospisil, you don't want to make it harder than it has to be. The goal is for Martin Pospisil to reach his ceiling in 3 years from now. So what are we doing? How are we? And like you said, how did you frame it? Over or under?
Well, you're either playing over a lot of these guys are sometimes playing over their head or under their head. Like they're either in a role that's above their capability or below. Like Honzek's a good example, how they've kind of used him before he got sent down this year.
Yeah.
It's like, why, like you said, after his first game back from injury, why is he playing on the Backlund line? I get maybe that's kind of an easy place to put him because those guys just do their thing, but that's also the line that plays the toughest minutes every night. That has the most responsibility on the ice. Why is he
100%.
playing? Why is the 19-year-old who just came back from injury playing that? It doesn't make sense. I don't think that's a spot that's not the best spot for him to succeed. I don't think.
No, you're just setting him up for failure, essentially.
Well, and we kind of saw the same thing last year with Sharon Govich. I remember there was they couldn't find a spot for him, right? They were like, he was on the fourth line. He played with Backlund and Coleman. And then I remember Craig, he was on the radio or some interview saying like, he came down and said to Huska, like, okay, can we just try this guy like on the top line for a few games? Let's go, please. Like he's got skill and he's got like shot. And then he on the top, gave him a run on the top line. In a way, he went to 30-goal season.
Yeah. I just feel like Huska's his sight lines are just too short right now.
Yeah.
These guys need, well, goes back to, a week and a half ago, is don't even wide change lines at all. Just because you had 2 bad games. Like,
did you even really have 2 bad games? Like, when did he start fiddling around with these lines? Like,
it was after Carolina Winnipeg, I think.
I think it even started like after the Chicago win too. He was kind of doinking around with them a little bit.
I just feel like if something has worked for a period of time, let it run for at least 15 games. Because it's an 82-game season. That's the way hockey is. You're in the hardest league in the world. You're playing against the best competition every single night. You're not going to win every game. So
well, and
if you lose a game or you lose a period, just stay the course. Like, we're trying to be good 3 years from now. We want Pospisil to be the best version of himself. Not now. 3 years from now. We want Honzek to be the best version. Why is he on the top line? Top line minutes. It's like, work him in. Start him small. Once he's mastered that level, then move him up. This up and down, all over. Like you said, it's giving guys too much or too little, and then there has to be a whipping boy.
Yeah, and especially like you said, on a team that's lacking skill. Like I think the best thing to do with these would just be like set your lines, roll 4 lines every single night, right?
Yeah, roll them for a month.
Everybody was buying in at the beginning. Everyone is like, and you're not going to win every game, and this team doesn't have enough skill to win every game, and they're going to go through skids even if they are kind of playing well. But yeah, I just think mostly for the younger players, like, I mean, even Connor Zary he was one of the guys who sat for a little bit on Edmonton. I just don't like this like pattern. It's just kind of like, oh, somebody's sitting every game, and it's kind of like it's like maybe like a point
for Jonathan Huberdeau.
Yeah, it's maybe a point to prove about like, oh, everybody's under the same like standard, and but it doesn't end up playing off that way. It kind of ends up just screwing with your mind if you're a player, because I don't
100%.
know. Confidence is 99%. Hockey's like 99% mental. If you're sitting there and you're Martin Pospisil, you're like, oh fuck, I just made a mistake. Like, am I going to sit in the third period? Like, that's not what should be happening at this point in time.
Like, Pospisil knows he made a mistake.
Yeah, he knows it. Most players in the NHL know when they fucked up. They don't need to be sat on the bench for a whole period to like know it.
I guess we'll see what this next week brings. I just feel like it's going to be more of the same. More scrambling, more juggling, more desperation moves on a nightly basis, where I just feel like, man, just roll with something for a while. You don't need to be putting the lines in a blender every fucking night.
Yeah, relax. Just let these guys go with get in a rhythm here. Jeez.
Projected lineups tonight versus the Habs. They got Zary with Kadri and Kuzmenko. I'm kind of excited to see Zary play with Kuzmenko.
Yeah.
I feel like Kuzmenko has been the biggest disappointment for me this season so far. He's fucking done nothing.
It's not been very interesting.
He's got 1 goal and 6 assists through 12 games, on pace for 40 points and 7 goals.
Fuck, dude.
What
does he have? 5 on 5 points or something?
This is your most skilled offensive player on the team. He's on pace for 7 goals, 40 points.
Not great, Bob.
Like, what's Huska doing to get Kuzmenko's game going? Is that why
benching him? I mean, to be fair, he did kind of actually. I guess there's one guy who maybe did respond to the benching. He looked better against the Oilers. He was making plays. Looked pretty dynamic. Yeah.
Nobody stood out. The only guy that stood out for me was Coronado. Maybe because I had a bit of a micro focus on him because we've been pushing hard for him to get back in the lineup. He's definitely an NHL caliber player.
Oh, yeah. It's not even a debate.
He does smart plays with the puck, moves the puck well, makes the right decisions, generates offense, essentially, with his play.
He had a couple great chances. If just maybe once he gets learns to bear down on a few of those. He had a great rebound chance that he just kind of like, he didn't really get out muscled on, but he just probably wasn't as hard on the puck as he could have been if he wanted to bury that. So he'll learn those things. And that's the other thing I want to just quickly say about Pospisil is like, there's kind of like overcorrection, because this was kind of my point with Coronado too. Like a few weeks ago when everybody was saying like, oh, like the AHL is the best place for him. Like a lot of these guys, like you were saying, he knows when he's made a mistake. Like they'll figure it out, right?
They need more time.
You just figure shit out as you go along. You don't need to be like spank your bad boy bottom. No, like spray a cat with the sprayer to get down from the couch. Like a lot of these guys will figure it out. Like obviously we have the Sam Bennett example of like everybody used to freak out about those fucking offensive zone penalties. It was all you ever heard about Sam Bennett. You never heard anything else. Just like penalties. He takes dumb penalties. He takes so many dumb penalties. And okay, he's a Stanley Cup champion now. And he's going to score 40 goals this year maybe. And I mean, even Nazem Kadri early in his career, the freaking Leafs traded him. They traded him for like Tyson Barrie because like, oh, he's liability. Kadri wins the Stanley Cup and he's like, yes, liability now, eh?
What did he say for all those?
Yeah, everybody thought I was a liability in the playoffs. Kiss my ass.
Yeah, kiss my ass.
It's like these guys learn. They know it just takes time, and we can't be.
The other thing too, if you're a coach, you get into the psychology of the player. Like why was Sam Bennett taking all those penalties?
Yeah.
A big portion of it is you're getting dicked around the lineup. You're trying to do too much.
Yeah, you're like, oh, you go first line, fourth line. Okay, I got to prove myself right now on this shift. On this
is it. Oh. I got this shift. Trying to do too much. I feel like Coronado's been a victim of that as well, and that's our biggest point up probably on this episode is gonna be like just fucking hands off.
Yeah,
just let these guys fucking play. Give them long stretches. I don't want to see fucking lines in a blender every single fucking game in year one of a rebuild.
Well, I mean, even for some of these guys,
figure out what your development goal is for Zary. Figure out what your development goal is for Coronado, for Pospisil, for Sharangovich. Maybe even for Kuzmenko. What do you want? Yeah. What's the goal with Kuzmenko? I mean, he's on an expiring deal. You probably just want him to have a good season so you have an option at the end of the season. Right now, he's on pace for 7 goals and 40 points. You're not getting a fucking first for Kuzmenko at the end of the season.
Oh, so Mantha too.
If you're managing this team, like each player has to have a purpose behind each player. Right now, the purpose is to win every fucking night.
Yeah.
At the behest of now it's again. At the behest of developing each player on their own curve for when we really want to be good. It's just you're getting confounding messages on a nightly basis, and I think you're over managing.
Yeah, it's a classic case, kind of looking at just like
you said, it fucks with your mind.
Yeah,
Sam Bennett's a great example.
Yeah,
if Coronado, he's playing with Coleman and Backlund, leave him there for the rest of the season.
Leave him somewhere.
Get him on PP1.
Yeah, get him on the power play. Well, that's the thing. Like, I thought he played excellent for the most part with Kadri and Kuzmenko that one game, but he got or maybe it was a game and a half. Got a game and a half. Then he's down to the fourth line, and even like I would be fine with him playing that fourth line with Kirkland, Lomberg, and Coronado. They were great. Like, I think the best the team has looked was the game against the Oilers. It backed back against Philly and in Edmonton and looked really good. Just, I don't really care where any of these guys play. Just kind of leave them the fuck alone already. Matt Coronado with Lomberg and Kirkland looked really good, and then you split that up immediately. And then he looked good with Kadri and Kuzmenko. Split up. So just leave these guys alone. Even Kuzmenko, like, freaking leave him alone. Even Mantha, leave these guys alone.
Yeah. Like, really, with the roster you have, you don't have to manage it every night.
Yeah.
The only management you have to do is guys in the lineup or not. Just fucking roll lines.
Yeah. Roll all of your lines. Like, even Kirkland not playing the last, did he not play the last 2 games?
Well, why?
Like, what? For Rooney? What the fuck? Rooney? Dude, he's still.
Apparently people love Rooney because, I mean, you posted this, I posted this. the first scratch for Kirkland out of the lineup. To put it in perspective, he was, I don't know if he still is, but when they scratched him, the forward leader in 5-on-5 points.
He still is.
Still is.
Well, Mantha has 5 and Huberdeau has 5, but all of Kirkland's 5-on-5 points are primary. So he has 1 goal and 4 primary assists. So he still leads the team in 5-on-5 points.
He's been your best.
Scratch though. I don't
scratch
get
him. We gotta get Rooney in.
He's playing tonight, but still, like, why has he not been playing the last 2 games? I don't get it. Again, like mixed signals. I don't know. At least from the outside, you're playing well.
That's the thing. It's like
you're leading the team in 5-on-5 points. You're scoring shootout winners. Scratched. Why?
This was from November 1st with Kevin Rooney on the ice. Yeah. The shot attempts are 30-5 for the opposing team. Shots are 15-3 for the opposing team. Scoring chances 13-4 for the opposing team. Then that was also when he's breaking up Pospisil and Huberdeau. Huberdeau had 6 points in 4 games with Pospisil. Then 1 point in 5 games without.
Yeah, I don't understand that. That lineup decision to me is the one that's the most head scratching.
You posted this, Huberdeau with Martin Pospisil and versus Huberdeau without Martin Pospisil.
Yeah, and they were both far better together than they were apart, which, like, that's a pretty huge development given how Huberdeau's played the last 2 seasons. Why break that up? Did anybody ask? I don't know. I don't think anybody asked. It was just kind of like Pospisil's game is kind of tailed off a little bit. Maybe he's hurt, but what?
Stop.
Of course his game is going to tail off.
Stop trying to focus on winning every single game and focus on individual players. What's the goal for Huberdeau this season? Just to get above, how many points did he have last season?
Hubie?
50? They had 50 points last season.
Did he get to 50?
Can we get him into the 65, 70 point category? I think that should just be the goal.
52 last year.
Incremental success for Huberdeau. So
minus 29.
If you're seeing that out the gate, why are we changing it?
Yeah, it's like it's very head scratching. I don't get it.
So I just feel like shift the perspective to winning every single night at all costs, to have a game plan, have a trajectory for each individual player. Yeah. And that should be what you're trying to do is making decisions on a weekly basis on how close these players are to where you want them to get to this season, next season, and the one after.
Well, you'd hope that internally they do have these benchmarks for these players individually, right? Both short-term and long-term.
You would hope a $1 billion fucking franchise would go to that extent.
Like,
yes.
Here's where we want you to be. Here's how we're going to get you there. You hope those conversations are happening on a pretty consistent basis.
Well, that's what management's all about, is, individual performances that lead to team success, right?
I don't mean to keep harping on the Pospisil thing, but it is, I think, a good case study, because you're kind of seeing it with Zary right now too. Like, he's definitely slowed down from where he was at last year. Outside of the first maybe couple games where it was like, he's scoring those highlight reel goals. You've seen not a step back, but there does seem to be some like adjustments going on there. And that's normal for a player in their second year in the NHL. We've heard it.
It's also normal for a player that's all over the fucking every single night playing with new players.
You're playing left wing, right, with this guy, that guy, up, down, everywhere. Just like, it's very normal. But, like, those are 2 guys. That's what kind of annoys me, is like the like you're saying, like the overcorrection, or like kind of like the over focus on the problems or this and that, and just opposed to letting those guys play. Is those 2 guys were really your most valuable players last year, and why, from a fan's perspective, the Calgary Flames were even worth 2 seconds of time last season, was because as soon as those guys came up, their skill and their youth and their speed injected that lineup with something that they desperately needed and made them even remotely watchable, because before that it was just like, holy fucking shit. And now you're just kind of like squeezing their balls like, hey, what the fuck, Pospisil? It's like Pospisil's been the player I've enjoyed watching the most over the last year and 10, 12 games. So maybe give Kadri's butt, like maybe kick Kadri's in the behind, because he's been dog shit. And I know Kuzmenko's kind of riding pine a little bit too, but like the over focus on like, oh, Pospisil's struggling. It's like, he's a second-year player in the league, and he's been one of your best players over the last calendar year. Let's relax a little bit.
The coach finally breaks the goaltending one game split. Vladar gets 2 straight starts. I get it. He's had success against the Oilers, and he got a shutout. But it's almost like they were just salivating with having a good reason to finally give Vladar a start over Wolf.
Well, you knew Vladar was going to be the first guy to get consecutives, right?
Yep. Obviously, Wolf has a bit of a stinker against Utah, so it doesn't help the cause either. But what was your thoughts on Wolf that game? That was hard to watch, because you're sitting there. He's come off to a great start. Wolf's looked great. He had been the better goaltender up to that game.
Yeah.
As a fan, hoping to see this team have success 3 years from now. 3 years from now, you're liking what you're seeing from Wolf. You're liking where it's going. I don't give a shit about that game. We've talked about this on this podcast plenty of times. It's one fucking game. The whole team sucked.
Yeah, it was a pretty lackluster game from everybody. And it's funny that always happens with Wolf. Is like, it's a goalie. It's going to happen. You're going to have bad games. It's like everybody freaks out all the time.
He's in the Calder leading the Calder race. Unreal numbers. One game.
Yeah, he had won 7 straight games up into the last 2 losses.
Yep.
So I put zero stock into that. This is a 2-3 year like you're saying. Like, this is going to happen over and over and over again to Dustin Wolf. So
yeah, that's
a tough game, but that's what this whole next few years is about.
That's when Wolf goes back, makes some adjustments. That's how he gets better. Sometimes you gotta fail your way to success. So that game means nothing to me. Obviously, it's hard to watch because I love the kid, but he gets back in tonight versus the Habs. But like you said, man, can you put him in for a string? Can you give him a string of games?
Give him a string
again with the over management. Just like, give some of these players a run. Leave them. Let them play. Just fucking hands off.
Yeah, let them play, so like he doesn't have to think, oh shit, I had a bad game against Utah. When am I going to see the net again? Like, you know what I mean? And obviously
now I'm paying for it.
He's playing tonight, but that creeps in your mind pretty quick. And like, he's a goalie and he's pretty locked in all the time. So I'm not worried about his, like, everybody always has a fit about his confidence, but when you are playing regular NHL games and it's like, oh fuck, like shit, like I fucked this one up. Am I going to get like, when's my next start going to be? Hopefully you don't see that happening if he does have some tough games in his rookie year.
Well, that's maybe the most concerning thing that we're kind of harping on today is with these young guys, when you create an atmosphere where there's zero room for error.
Yeah.
Like even with Pospisil. Right now is when you want these kids to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You want them to make mistakes.
You want them to be playing big moments, making mistakes, learning what they can't do in 2 to 3 years when you hopefully are playing important games.
This is when you want so like enough with the over penalization. Like
we saw this. I think we saw this to an extent with like, just because it's a high profile example, is like with Kachuk, like everyone used to rate penalties too. And like, oh, he's too rambunctious. He's too blah, blah, blah. Fucking 21 years old. He's 21.
He threw a hissy fit. How embarrassing.
He's 21. Let's relax. Imagine when he's 26, 27 and he's in his prime and, we're hopefully in playoff series. Like, that's what you're thinking of. You're not thinking of just like hammering on these weaknesses right now. That's a great point. Let them make mistakes. That's the whole point of this.
It's the whole point. It's where we're at.
Yeah.
Year one of a rebuild. Stop trying to make the playoffs every fucking night. You fucking break.
Oh, well, Murray Edwards is in the building for the Backlund game. Did you see that? He's probably
made an appearance, eh?
Yeah. It was like kind of a behind the scenes thing. He looks like the freaking Penguin #1. He's like, I'm surprised he didn't have like a
great fucking series, by the way. Have you seen this yet?
I haven't watched it because I didn't really love the Batman movie, so I'm not super into it. Did you see the Batman movie?
No, but the Penguin is fucking great.
That's how good Batman is. His villains can have great shows. But Murray Edwards probably has like a red dot sniper on like Huska at all times, just be like, make the decision to make the playoffs tonight.
Whip that boy. Bench that boy.
Bench him.
Vets.
More veterans.
More.
That's the first time I've seen him like in public for like ever. He wasn't even really in public, but
so he is alive. Yeah, it's not just a hologram. Maybe it was a hologram.
Yeah, maybe it was a hologram. Maybe it's just one of his like, Mr. Burns. Like, I just imagine him like, because he was there for Backlund's Thousands game, which we didn't really talk about, which was really cool, by the way. Even though I was like, oh, the New Jersey game sucked. The ceremony was great. Iggy was there. Obviously, Conroy was on the ice.
It was it was kind of cool that they played Markstrom and beat him.
Yeah, that was great too. Markstrom's first game back, and Vladar shuts him out. That was sweet.
Yeah.
So it was a good game, and it was cool because they did like the video tribute, and it was kind of funny because they had like all the players talking to him, being like, "Oh, congratulations, Bax," and then Chucky comes on. It was like, "Oh, congratulations!" Everybody went crazy for a video of Tkachuk. Everybody goes crazy, and then Monty comes on and it's like, "Congratulations, Monty!" Everyone goes crazy, and then just like goes to like a current Flames player like Anderson, and it's like silent.
Yeah.
So it was a good game, but I just imagine Murray Edwards like it's Backlund's 1,000 games, and he's just like, he doesn't know his name, like Mr. Burns with Homer Simpson. He's like, "What's your name?" And Don Maloney. He's like, "That's Michael Backlund, sir. He's played 1,000 games as a Calgary Flame." Backlund, eh? I'll remember that name.
I'm glad you brought up Tkachuk. Like, I'm sitting there. It's the fucking Battle of Alberta on home ice, and there was no juice.
Yeah.
There was no battle. It was not a battle. It was it was just your average run-of-the-mill hockey game, boring.
Yeah.
I mean, they come back on the scoreboard for 5 minutes, tied up. So the game itself could have been good, but man, there was no battle. And like, how many times are we going to text each other that it's like probably 4 or 5 times a week. Fuck, I can't believe we lost Tkachuk. Can't believe we lost Tkachuk.
It's a big,
just the fact alone that guy restored the Battle of Alberta to basically his peak. For my,
in our lifetime, easily.
In our lifetime, for sure. But you're sitting there like, man, no fights, no animosity, no after the whistle stuff.
Yeah.
No one was trying to get anything. No one was trying to pester anybody. It was just a boring game.
Well, that's disappointing because that's kind of, I expected, like, especially after that opening game in Vancouver where the Flames were like, it looked like this was maybe going to be a year where the Flames are a team that's like, we're not going to win a lot of games, but you don't fuck with us, which is like, that's exactly perfect. Like, that's what I want to see.
But I honestly think it's this over management of no mistakes allowed. And
dude, you heard it after that game. It was funny because the coach said after the Vancouver game to open the season, the coach said, we were getting away from our game. Like, I didn't like all the penalties. You can't let them go. You can't get obsessed with like chasing a guy down for a hit.
That's what turned the game around.
The GM of the team in The Athletic, like a few days later, was like, "Oh, I loved that. I loved that how we responded to the Rooney hit and really stood up for each other and went after him." I want to see more of that.
Well, and it makes you kind of start to wonder, like, what is the relationship between Connie and Husker right now? Yeah, because I know, like you already mentioned on this episode, is Connie had to step in more than once last season and be like, hey, can you
Can you
do it
take
this way?
Sharangovich off the fourth line?
Could you maybe try this? So I don't know. They're obviously not playing well right now. I mean, they've been playing better opponents too, so that kind of puts you in your place. But
well, you want to see if they're not playing well. Like the Lomberg fight was the biggest juice factor of the New Jersey game. You want to see them engage in the Battle of Alberta. Like I think that is important. Like that's a good barometer of kind of like, and it's not just a fan thing. Like that's what was so shitty about last. Other than the game where Coleman decimated McDavid and went on a rampage and beat the shit out of Janmark, like the Battle of Alberta sucked ass the last 2 years. It's been so bad. There's no juice. Like someone do something.
Yeah, there was no hatred.
Zero hatred. Like Draisaitl scores and he's feeling like, yeah, whatever.
Like as a fan, you're sitting there, you're like, my hatred's still fucking at an all-time high for this team and these fans, and you listen to all the fucking Oilers fans in there and
packed house in there, all the dumb idiots.
And the Flames just
lay down and die. That's pretty
much
losing
when they don't even. There's no fight. There was no
do
fight.
Something exactly. That's all we want. Fight.
Like,
I want that more.
Imagine Matthew Tkachuk on this team, this current roster still. You tell me that wouldn't have been an entertaining game? You telling me that he McDavid's out. The only thing they have right now is Draisaitl. Target him. Yeah. Hit him.
Run him.
Get it in his face after the whistle. Start something. Start a scrum. Do something.
Pospisil probably's got a talking to you like, hey, like chill out.
That's the thing. Is just
I'm surprised he didn't do anything.
I can't fucking make any little tiny mistake, otherwise I'm getting demoted on a nightly basis. And in and out of the lineup on this line. It's just like now the players, you always hear this, gripping your stick too tight, you haven't scored in a while. The mental side of it, right? It's just like back off, hands off.
Go hit some guys. That's the simple way to play. Play fast and play hard. Hit hard and play fast. Like that's where they should be at right now.
I pulled the fan base for Backlund's 1000th game. He gets a lot of hate from the fans.
I know he does. It's kind of funny.
But it's one of those things where you know what you have. You know what his ceiling is. What he does well, he does exceptionally well. He's one of the best defensive center in the league. Has been
still at 35. Has been for 6-7 years.
Yeah. And so, I pulled the fan base that, if at the end of the season, this season, if a Stanley Cup contender comes knocking on Craig Conroy's door, Backlund's got a no movement clause, so he has to okay everything. But is that something at this point in Backlund's career that he considers?
If it were me and I was Backlund, I'd say yeah.
It seems like he's just committed to this organization.
Yeah.
And maybe that speaks more, I don't know. But he for sure is an asset on a Stanley Cup contending team.
Are you telling me Colorado? I said this a few weeks ago. We were just kind of maybe throwing this around like Colorado Avalanche. Come on. Even the Oilers.
Yeah.
The Leafs.
Don't fucking trade him to the Oilers, obviously. But
yeah, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, a player like that is a player you win with as your second line center.
Yep.
So if it were me and I was Backlund, I would be wanting, but he's kind of seen like, hey, Iggy tried to do that. Didn't work out for him. Gio didn't necessarily try to do that, but they fucking booted his poor ass out and it didn't really work out for him. So maybe he's just good with like, hey, whatever happens, happens. I mean, he still only is 35 years old.
You got to think, man, like these.
But you got to think it gets to him, eh?
You watch the Face-Off series and it's Tkachuk and, Matthew and Brady.
Yeah.
And it's all they talk about is as a kid. Everybody knows this. When you're playing fucking pickup or you're, road hockey, it's not game one. It's not fucking.
It's not playing 1,000 games with one team.
It's not game 7, period 1. It's always game 7 fucking OT. The biggest moment of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I feel like if you're Backlund, why wouldn't you want to take a shot?
Well, that's kind of the emotion I was feeling during during the ceremony was like, again, like Kachuk came on, and I'm just like, you're seeing all his old teammates, and I'm being like, this poor guy, he's been through it all, eh? He's been through like the end of the Iginla era to the rebuilding era
Sutter
where they were
twice.
good again. Sutter twice.
Finally stood up to Sutter. Hey, maybe that'll be the peak of his career.
Dude, Bax told this. He just mentioned this. The Flames did a little feature with him and his wife. They're looking at old pictures. Yeah. And he had like those. Remember those pump skates? They like pumped. Yeah. I never had them, but I remember everybody had them. They were like white. In his first game, Daryl wasn't even coach. He was GM. He's like, you got to take the figure skates off. Awesome.
Oh,
but
man.
then he goes through the fall again. It's just kind of like you've seen all these players kind of like come and go and like have success elsewhere. You've got to think like that. At some point, you'd be like, man, I want that too. And you know that came through his mind before Connie locked him in. When Connie took over, like Backlund was, I'm out, I'm fucking done. He was right there with the other guys, Lindholm and all of them, who were like, get me out now. But obviously Craig changed his mind, but you still think that thought is in there, as it should be. He's a competitive guy.
I know probably the captaincy was a big factor in him staying.
No, if they gave it to Kachuk, he still would have left. That doesn't play any bearing on anyone's want to stay. Doesn't mean anything to any of these guys.
Where do you think his head's at? If this team finishes bottom 10 again, it's clear, you know, that's what the future holds. He's only got one more deal after this, so
dude, I think I don't know this, but I would say like he's done the 1,000th game, right? Like what else can he do with his organization? I don't think it would tarnish his it wouldn't be like Medan. Maybe it would be. I don't know. It'd be weird to see him in another uniform, but like at this point, given that he's still such a good player, I think is the point I'm trying to make. That it wouldn't be like a kind of a like remember when Medano was on the Red Wings and it was like he's not the same guy anymore, or like even when Iggy was like with Colorado and it's like he's not the same. Backlund's still a really good player, and if you put him like you said on a Stanley Cup contending team right now, they would be boosted huge. So he's done everything he can do for this organization. Like, if I'm him, I'm like, yeah, like this is the last. Like, maybe this is the last year. Like, I'm open to being moved in the summer or something.
Okay, but you're not him. But where do you think his? Do you think that he?
I don't think he's there yet, but I think he could be. He could get there
by the end of the season.
Yeah,
I think he should. Agree.
Like him and I'm sure him and like a guy like Coleman too, right? Like those are guys. Coleman's a guy. He's a winner, right? He doesn't.
How many years does he have left?
I think he's got 2 after this. So, just these guys, they don't like they're committed to the team to Craig, but I just imagine when it comes down to it, like, okay, your time's up almost. Like, this is it. So, I think he might get there.
I wonder if it's tiring for these guys, Coleman's and Backlund's and Connery's.
Probably
just this nightly juggling, and we got to win every single night. And if we don't, the expectations are what has changed now is the expectations are so high from the head coach. They're so low coming in that the only goal was to be the hardest working team.
Again, they were rallying around to like fuck you, like it was the FU mentality. Sorry, I keep giving the finger to the camera. I keep forgetting I'm on camera. But that was kind of the rallying cry, right? Like everyone thinks we suck. Fuck them.
But now it's
going to turn into like, it's like I said, this is the mistake Daryl made when he tried to do this too. Is like everyone, including me, thinks you suck.
But now it just seems the expectation is you got to win every night.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it gets tiring for these guys too.
Well, it's a grind. It's a long season. 12 games in.
12 games
like, yeah, fuck. We gotta go to Utah. We gotta go to Utah.
Like how many benchings? How many benchings have we seen?
Well, games in. Does the benching in and of it? Well, it's been what every night for the past 5-6 games. Does the benching once in a while work? Maybe. Does it work over and over and over and over and over again? Probably not.
I mean, probably not. You're on a rebuild, dude.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Exactly.
Sharky finally gets his first goal of the season. I know it's hard, especially starting the season late. Starting the season late is hard. Like you've seen it with guys, holding on for contracts. Johnny did it. It takes a bit to get your kind of footing back. I think it's even more so if you're coming off an injury to start the season. So a bit of a slow start for him, but nice to see him get one. He's the streakiest guy, maybe outside of Monahan, but I would maybe now is the time if you're betting on anytime goal scorers that Sharky might just go on a 5-game heater here.
Oh yeah, he did this all the time last year, right? It was like, he sucks. Oh shit, he just scored like 10 goals in a row.
Some absolute beauties too.
I haven't seen any like Lego. What's going on? Does he have the appropriate Lego setup this year? I haven't really seen much behind the scenes from him this year.
Me either. What the hell's going on?
You better be hooked up.
I mean, all that entry time, he's got extra time to build.
And
what's he building? What's he building these days? Give us the content we want.
Exactly. We want some fucking Lego content. Get on it. The other thing is, too, I don't like him playing at center. I've said that a lot. Put him on the wing. That's where he should be, I think. It's too much responsibility for him. He's a sniper. That's what his game is. He's a sniper. He snipes. Let him snipe.
So they got him centering Huberdeau and Mantha tonight.
Yeah. Which...
That's a demotion in and of itself, isn't it?
Yeah, anybody who plays with Huberdeau is like, oh man.
So do we have metrics on Kuzmenko? I know obviously, the counting stats are not there. You said he looked better against the Oilers. Underlyings wise, you get a story. We have a story that tells.
Game by game is what's like, he's just kind of like not been what I think dynamic is the word, right?
No, not at all.
Like, I think the first few games you were like, yeah, Kuzi.
To close out the season, you were like, close out the season last year, like, holy fuck, this guy's got skill. Setting up unreal goals, scoring unreal goals. Haven't seen any of that.
You saw a few nice plays against the Oilers, but I think the biggest, like, his 5-on-5 stats suck, but like, dude, what is going on with him on the power play? Like, that's the thing that was last year, right? The thing I don't understand with they're hell bent on
Kadri carrying the puck in every single time. And
oh my fucking word! These entries might be my 13th reason.
Why
that might be mentioned by name in my suicide note? Is the entries.
Why is the guy who's the biggest puck hog I've seen on this team maybe ever? The guy, like, you need someone that can distribute the puck to carry the puck into the zone.
Well, the bounce back, the drop back entry works because, like, oh, am I going to pass or am I going to carry the puck in myself? Here comes Kadri. I don't know what's he going to do? Try to deke through the whole oh yeah, like, he's never passed. He's 0 for 600 on passing on the power play entry.
So that's problem number one because the power play it's 0 for what now? Did they score a power play goal against Jersey?
No, they scored against the Oilers. Mantha scored the tip-in goal. Mantha scored the tip-in goal against the Oilers.
On the power play, yeah. You're right.
But that's it. It's like a hope and a prayer flip shot from the line.
So that's problem number one. Problem number two is, why is Huberdeau distributing? He's still passing the puck into the Oilers skates or the opposing team skates. It's unreal. It's so hard to watch.
It's unbearable.
Like, especially let Kuzmenko
on the power play.
Everything
let Kuzi do everything, and that's what I was going to say. Was
him and probably Zari, and that should be the half board setup with the high man to Zari on the point probably, and then you try and feed it through Uyghur. Those three guys should be like,
yeah.
Does Huberdeau bring you value on the power play?
No.
Put him on PP2. Get Coronado on there. Get a shot in there.
Even Zary, like, I think he's got the skill to make something work. But I am surprised because as soon as Kuzmenko arrived last year, the power play turned around instantly, mostly running through him.
Well,
and it looked good early on. Yeah, Uyghur too. But it's just stalled. It looks like shit. And I think that's where you're really wanting to get most of your value out of Kuzmenko from, is on the power play. And, like, does he have a power play point this year? One? I think he has one.
He had one tip-in power play goal. His only goal is something on the power
Yeah, his
play.
only goal is on the power play. I guess he had 2 power play points against Philly that game where he scored that, or 2 power play assists, but he has gone since the game against Chicago without a power play point and only has 4 shots on the power play since then. So not great.
Yeah. But again, the power play setup is what's hurting them the most, I think. And
Oh, it's so fucking stagnant, dude. I don't understand.
yes, you
I
do.
don't
Because
get
Huberto
it.
is Huberto is the distributor. The guy never
Don't
fucking moves his feet.
understand it. I've never understood this. Why it's don't move the puck. Like, look at what the Oilers do. Look at what the Jets do. Look at what the Avalanche do. Look at what Vegas does. Look at what all the teams, Florida, look at what they do on the power play. And do that. I know the Oilers' percentage has been in the shitter this year, power plays wise, but it's still always great. God, I don't get why no one's ever moving their fucking feet. Ever. Underlying wise, he's been okay 5 out of 5, right? Like, kind of like the whole team, but that's the
I
thing.
want more than okay, man.
Exactly. He's the guy with the skill. He's the game breaker. He's one of the guys that you need. Well, that's kind of what you're seeing with this Flames team is like Mantha and Kuzmenko are kind of the X factors, I guess, because they're the guys with the skill. If they're executing at a high level, like the Flames look like a totally different team. Without those guys, they kind of look like which is what they are, a team that doesn't have much skill and can't really make many plays. Like, I don't think there was one play made that New Jersey game other than the Huberto goal that was like, oh, that was a really skilled play. It was just a lot of meat and potatoes hockey.
Which I don't mind as long as you're fucking grinding.
Yeah, as long as you're doing something. But I mean, his on ice impact has been pretty good. Like against the Oilers, his line was pretty good as a whole. Kuzmenko against the Oilers on the ice for 25 shot attempts, 4, 8 against, 8 shots for, 3 against, 11 scoring chances for, 4 against. So he did respond to the spank on the bottom and looked better, but you need to, and I mean, I guess he was good against Utah too at 5-on-5. So I don't know. It's kind of an odd one because I watched him live against New Jersey, and you can see he's got the skill. Same with Mantha. It's like they have the skill. It's just sometimes they don't execute and they have trouble with consistency. And you can see why maybe Vancouver was like, yeah, we can live without this guy, even though he is insanely high skill.
I'm excited to see playing with Zary and Kadri.
Yeah.
Kind of unlock something there.
Totally. And I think we've talked about him playing with Zary a lot, and having Zary play with more skilled players is something we would be interested in seeing.
100%. Lomberg, Kirkland, Pospisil's line 4. I actually don't mind that.
That's a good fourth line too. Like I think Pospisil is playing well. I've been complaining about him being moved from a place he was playing well, but I think that's a fine spot for him, to be honest. As long as you just don't keep fucking him around.
Well, the fourth line should be getting at least 10.
Well, that's the other thing too. That's the thing. He's not rolling four lines.
No, he's using that fourth line as a demotion tool.
Exactly.
On a nightly basis.
Use your fourth line. You have the players to do it. You have the personnel to do it. You have people who have skill sets who are good for a fourth line. Just go out, work hard, hit hard, play fast. That's all you need.
Generate some energy, man. That's historically, the role of your fourth line is your energy line. They should be out there grinding, making hits, making things feisty, getting the crowd like a little juiced up.
Yeah,
that's exactly. How you build momentum in games. This Lomberg, Kirkland, Pospisil might be a little doozy. We'll have to see. I just want to see. They should be getting more ice on the fourth line.
Yeah, totally agree.
It's a tool not being utilized.
Yeah.
We got. So the boys are on the road. Montreal tonight. Boston on Thursday. Buffalo on Saturday. We'll be doing the afterburner on Buffalo. Let's go. Hopefully, get a win. Matinee game.
Matinee in Buffalo. Ugh. Well, a win would be nice.
It's going to be the best jersey.
Hey, tonight's pretty good too, other than those horrendous jersey ads Montreal has.
What do they have?
I don't know, but it's gross. What am I? It's like, to me, the Montreal having a jersey ad is like Rocket Richard and Jean Beliveau are rolling over, dude. That's a desecration.
Big time.
It's so bad. Oh, it's RBC. It's RBC.
Oh my god. Is it blue? I guess
It's
you got
blue and yellow.
Huh?
At least Buffalo doesn't have a jersey yet, so that's a good point.
I still think whenever they play Buffalo, it's like the best jersey matchup,
jerseys.
especially when the Flames are on the road.
I like when they play Buffalo because it's like the two teams who funded the Florida Panthers Stanley Cup win. It's good to see those two teams come together once in a while.
Let's see where these guys are at in the standings. This is Boston. Boston is off to a bit of
they're struggling.
Lindholm's been quiet, eh?
Lindholm has been quiet. What does he have like?
He had a first good week, but
first good week.
Boston's a 6 or 500 team right now, 6-6.
I guess he's been okay. He's only got 2 goals in 13 games, though.
Dude, Buffalo stinks again. Their winning percentage is .375.
That's Buffalo,
4-7-1.
man.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have fucked up with Eichel and Reinhart.
You have weaker opponents this week. We're going to get to see Cole Caulfield rocking 13. Are the league leaders still all wearing 13?
Well, I know Reinhart. Yeah.
Going into the weekend, that was a cool stat, right?
Yeah, all the goal scoring leaders. I think Kucherov has 10 now, but still 2, 3, 4. All number 13s are tops in goal scoring. Reinhart in Florida, Hischier in New Jersey, and Cole Caulfield in Montreal. That's pretty cool.
All right, well, we'll see what this week brings.
Sam Bennett's number 9 with 8 goals in 13 games, but
takes too many penalties, though. So.
Takes too many penalties.
Got to demote him.
Yeah, got to get him out of here for a second-round pick.
Got to punish that man. Punish. Fourth line minutes. Was he? Remember, it was like 4 minutes a game.
My favorite was the plays awesome in the playoffs. Where do you want to play? Center starts the season on the 4th line, left wing, requests a trade, gets scratched. Coach gets fired. Daryl plays him on the top line, rescinds the trade request, and then he gets traded for nothing.
Fuck. Goes win Stanley Cup.
Goes in back-to-back Stanley Cup final. It's just a masterclass in management right there.
Just love it. Love to see it. Yeah. Wranglers. So let's do some prospectus here.
Well,
Gridden had a hat trick. Gridden had a hat trick in a 5-point week.
That was sick.
He's climbing. What do you got for us for Wranglers wise?
Well, Roy Cairns, who I would sure like to see. It's Kearns. I would like to see him up here pretty soon. He's probably earned it. Player of the month. He had 9 goals and 11 points in 10 games in October. Wow. That's pretty good. Had his first career AHL hat trick October 16th, and he's been pretty awesome. Clapp is back with the boys. They've won, 9 in a row? 9 in a row they've won. Oh, no, yeah, they're looking to win their 10th in a row. Did they win last night? Or did they play tonight? They play tonight. They play Bakersfield tonight, going for their 10th in a row. 10 in a row! Clark Bishop was named captain today, taking over from Brett Sutter. They've been pretty good, dude. And I think, will Honzik play tonight? I don't think he's played yet, so get a look at him soon.
That'll be his first game. Now, the whole thing with Kirkland, so there's a bit of roster management, right, in this decision of, so if he plays 10 games.
Which he's going to tonight.
So then he has to clear waivers?
Yeah, he will no longer be waiver exempt.
So do you read into that at all? Are we keeping him in the roster? Like what?
Keep him. Why not? He's earned it, hasn't he?
I guess he's a player you don't necessarily mind if you lose in a waiver. So how old is he?
The Flames don't seem to get 28 years old. He's probably still a guy who gets through waivers pretty easily. The Flames don't seem to give a shit about waivers when it comes to good play. Actually, like Cole Schwint with 2 assists. That was the most. I texted you. I was like, Schwint's definitely getting on the board tonight. Sure enough.
Two assists. Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
His game stats versus
it was versus Rooney's where it was incredible. He had a great game.
Yep. And that was the biggest point online that we were trying to make is Cole Schwint, not good enough to crack our roster.
Rebuilding team
needs more development time.
Yeah.
Sent him to waivers, picked up. Oh, he can play on a Stanley Cup contending team, but just not a first-year rebuild team.
Not a first-year rebuild team. We have too many veterans. We got Rooney. It's just
gotta get the Roon dog in there. So
get him down here. You know that right shot 6'3" centerman, 6'2", I guess.
Yeah,
doesn't quite fit.
No, but we're on the market for right shot center. We'll give up a first in year one of rebuild for a right shot center, no problem.
Yeah, but losing one for free on waivers.
That's good enough to play on a Stanley Cup team.
That's good enough to play on Vegas.
I mean, you got Rooney. It's Rooney. Rooney.
Well, that was the other argument too, because we've kind of seen the fourth line thing, right? It's like, oh, you can't have guys you can't have them play on the fourth line.
Oh no, you couldn't.
Vegas does it. No. Florida does it. Everybody does it except us.
Yep.
We just have to have our fourth line play 4 minutes a night and be a punishment zone for some fucking unknown reason.
We only have right now. That is the sole purpose of the fourth line, a demotion tactic.
Totally. It's like, okay, Lomberg, maybe go hit a few guys, and then once we get to 5 minutes left in the second, it's punishment. It's the island of punishment.
Yeah, you only have 30 minutes into the game to do anything.
Gotta prove something.
Because then we're utilizing that to punish you.
The other guy I did want to mention prospect-wise this week was Henry Muse, Ottawa 67's defenseman, had 6 points in 3 games. Woo. Pretty good. Oh, and Stromgren for the Heat. He also had a nice 3-point night on Thursday.
Nice.
Old Bill Stromgren.
Good thing we got all those vets in the lineup, though. We don't want to take any look at these.
I don't want to see any of these guys.
I want to see them in the regular show here, the big show.
Yeah, just got to let them cook for 7 years and then lose them on waivers and let another team use them.
Well, you made a good point because you were doing some digging there. What do all the best teams in the NHL do? Oh, they got all these young 22, 21, 23-year-olds on their fourth line. They got actual prospects playing. Well, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you have a 28-year-old fucking veterans every night on the fourth line?
Really good question. I don't understand why Florida.
They're not using the fourth line as a demotion tool every night.
It's a very, very good question. I don't know. I think Huska's onto something here that's never been done before. That was only done back in 1990s.
He's throwback. He's cracking the old bald chromdonium, whatever you call it,
chromodomus. I think they sutured that thing to your head, to your brain.
I was bald. Correction, Elaine. I was bald.
He should get a Ryan, you got a rug. Good for you, Jack.
Could you imagine Just fucking rolls out to
shows up with hair.
With a toupee on. Fuck, that'd
be great. Fun, that'd be awesome. Why not?
That's the content I need. All right, man. Really not too much to say at this point. The team's in the stinker. Coaches is overanalyzing, over-executing, overdoing it, in my opinion. Anything else from last week that kind of talking points that you want to touch?
Michael Backlund's kids are really cute.
Adorable.
It's cool to see Iggy around. Yeah. I did want to mention one thing on Iggy before we wrap up here is that Ryan Leslie was interviewing him because he was at the Backlund game, obviously. And man, you could just see Iggy was like, fuck, dude. You see Iggy wants to get out there and just beat the shit out of Buddy and score a goal. Cause I don't know. He said something like, you don't really miss the game until you're down at ice level and the building's full. Right. And you can just feel the energy and you're down with the players and you just
want to do something.
You just want to do something. Iggy wants to do something, man. That's what we need more of.
Yeah.
Please. We need more of, I want to fuck shit up right now in front of the Sea of Red.
It's the bat of Alberta.
Yeah.
I want to hit somebody. I want to get the crowd going.
That's right.
Let's get some energy in the building. Snooze fest instead.
So I'd like to see some piggybacking off that, some more fucking energy, please. Hit. I want to see what we saw against Vancouver. I want to see some retribution. I want to see some fighting. I want to see some juice. Give me some juice.
And to fucking lay off. Like, the more you overmanage, like the less inspiring and these players get. I think that's what we're seeing right now is uninspiring hockey, to be honest. We'll see what the week has in store. What do you think we go this week? Do you win? Do you win 2 games?
It might be Montreal. They're struggling.
Buffalo struggling. Boston struggling. Backlund loves Boston.
Backlund does always show up in Boston. I feel like you could go 2-1 this week.
I'd like to see Wolf get 2 starts this week.
I'd like to see Wolf get 2 wins this week. So we're going 2-1 for Wolf.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.